You lie down to sleep, and your mind turns on. You close your eyes, and it begins. It replays a conversation from 3 days ago. It plans a day that hasn't even arrived yet. It solves problems nobody asked you to solve. It rehearses answers to arguments that might never happen. You are exhausted. Your body begs for sleep, and your head simply won't turn off. During the day, it is the same thing, just more disguised. A constant background noise, a voice that never shuts up, 1,000 mental tabs open at the same time. You can't remember the last time your mind was truly silent. This isn't just an annoyance. It is exhaustion, because a mind that never turns off consumes you from the inside all the time, even when you are doing nothing. Your problem is not that you think too much. It is that you don't know how to let your mind turn off. And by the end of this video, you will understand why your mind won't stop, and what the biblical cure is for a head that never shuts up, which has nothing to do with thinking more positively or trying not to think of anything. The first thing you need to understand is that your mind doesn't turn off right away because it has inertia. It has momentum. And momentum doesn't stop all at once. Think about how your day went. You woke up and immediately started receiving stimuli. Notifications, decisions, problems, screens, conversations, deadlines. Your mind spent 12, 14, 16 hours spinning at maximum speed, processing one thing after another without a break. And then, at night, you lie down and expect it to stop instantly, as if it were a switch. But the mind is not a switch. It is more like an engine that revved in high gear all day long. You cut the key, but it keeps spinning on its own inertia, cooling down slowly. That flood of thoughts when you lie down is not your mind broken. It is your mind in high gear trying to decelerate from a speed you kept maxed out all day. The faster your day was, the longer your mind takes to decelerate at night. You can't take a mind from 100 to 0 in seconds, just like you can't do that with anything that was spinning fast. And understanding this changes everything, because it means the problem isn't your mind at night. It is the speed you imposed on it all day. And there is a modern aggravating factor. The last thing most people do before lying down is precisely what accelerates the engine the most, grabbing their phone. You spend the whole day in high gear, and instead of slowing down before sleeping, you give it one last injection of fuel. More news, more videos, more comparison, more stimuli, right at the time you should be cutting the power. Then you put the phone down, close your eyes, and are surprised that your mind won't stop. But you just accelerated it to the max. You didn't give it even a minute of a ramp to come down on. Imagine a ceiling fan spinning at maximum speed. Now you pull the chain and turn it off. What happens? It doesn't stop. The blades keep spinning, slowly losing speed, for a good while after you cut the power. This is normal. It is inertia. You turned it off, but the movement continues on its own until the energy runs out. Now imagine you are in a hurry and don't want to wait. You stand on a chair and try to stop the blades with your hand. What happens? You get hurt. The blades resist, they hit your hand, and you only manage to stop them by force with pain. And sometimes, not even then. Trying to stop a spinning fan with the strength of your hands is a terrible idea. That is exactly what you do with your mind every night. It is spinning from inertia, and instead of letting it slow down on its own, you stand on the chair and try to stop the blades with your hand. You fight the thoughts. You argue with them. You get irritated for thinking. You try to force the mind to stop right now. And what happens? You get hurt. Fighting the thoughts only agitates them more, only makes you more awake, more frustrated, further away from sleep. You don't stop a fan by grabbing the blades, and you don't calm a mind by fighting the thoughts. The cure was never to stop the mind by force. It is to cut the power that keeps it spinning and let it slow down in peace. Keep this image of the fan. Everything else in this video depends on it. 1 a.m. The room is dark, the house is quiet, everyone is sleeping except your head. You are tired in a way that hurts, but the mind continues. One thought pulls another, which pulls another. You look at the clock and calculate how many hours of sleep you can still get, and that math becomes another thought. You try to empty your head, and the more you try, the more it fills up. The blades keep spinning, and there you are, grabbing them with your hands in the dark. There is a sentence from the Apostle Paul that sounds like it was written by a neurologist, but it is 2,000 years old. He talks about taking every thought captive to make it obedient to Christ. Stop at that image, because it is radical. Taking a thought captive, capturing it, like taking a prisoner. Paul is saying something that changes everything. You are not obligated to obey every thought that enters your head. Think about how you treat your thoughts today. A thought appears. What if everything goes wrong tomorrow? And you obey it. You follow it, examine it, develop it, chase after it down all the corridors of your mind. You treat every thought like an order that must be carried out, a call that must be answered. And since your mind produces thousands of thoughts a day, you spend your life running after each one, exhausted, without ever questioning if that thought even deserved your attention. But Paul says you have authority over your thoughts, not the other way around. A thought is not a fact. It is not a command. It is not the truth just because it appeared in your head. You can capture it, look at it, and ask, is this true? Is this useful? Does this come from God? Or is it just noise? And if it is not true, you don't have to follow it. You can let it pass without obeying it. That is the difference between a mind that enslaves you and a mind that you govern. It is not about stopping having thoughts. That is impossible. It is about stopping obeying all of them. And that is why this channel exists, to give you back the governance of your own mind in a world entirely designed to hijack your attention. If this makes sense to you, subscribe here. It's not about following just another channel. It's about choosing a slow voice in the middle of the noise that helps you turn off your mind instead of accelerating it even more. Here is the twist that sets you free from your own head. You have spent your life believing that you are your thoughts, that if your mind thinks something, that is you, it is true, and it must be taken seriously. That is why every anxious thought knocks you down, every catastrophic scenario traps you, every self-criticism hurts you. You believe everything your mind says as if it were the definitive voice on who you are, but you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes your thoughts. There is a huge difference there. When a thought appears, there is you, and there is the thought. And you are the one who decides what to do with it. You are sitting in the armchair. The thoughts are people walking down the street outside your window. You are not every person who walks by. You are the one looking out the window. And you don't have to run after everyone who passes. And look at the relief that brings. If you are the observer and not the thought, then you don't have to believe everything your mind says about you in your worst moments. That thought at 1 a.m. that says you ruined everything, nobody truly loves you, tomorrow is going to go wrong. It is not the voice of truth. It is just someone else walking down the street. You can look out the window, recognize that that visitor is a liar, and not open the door for them. You don't have to host every thought that knocks, especially the ones that arrive in the dark when the mind is tired and more prone to lying. When you understand this, the mind that never turns off loses its power over you. The thoughts keep coming. The window keeps showing people walking by, but you are no longer dragged away by each one. You look, you recognize, and you let pass what is neither true nor useful. The head might keep spinning a little, but you are no longer grabbing the blades. You are sitting, at peace, letting the fan slow down. I am going to be direct about something you may have never questioned. You live as if your mind were your boss. It sends a thought, and you obey. It says, worry, and you worry. It says, relive that shame, and you relive it. It says, imagine the worst, and you imagine it. You have spent so much time serving your own mind that you forgot it was supposed to be the other way around. Honestly, I was a slave to my mind for years, especially at night. I thought that if a thought appeared, I had to deal with it right then, in that instant, lying in the dark. So I obeyed. I solved. I planned. I worried at 2 a.m, with my mind spinning while my body begged for rest. It took me a long time to learn a simple phrase that changed my nights. This thought can wait until tomorrow. Most of them could. Almost none of them needed to be attended to at that hour. And here I need to be very direct with you. Your racing mind is not wiser just because it is racing. The thoughts at 1 a.m. are not truer just because they seem urgent in the dark. Your head spinning is not protecting you from anything. It is just stealing your rest. You do not owe obedience to a mind that has never given you peace. You can, with all the authority that Christ gave you, say to a thought, not right now, and go back to sleep. But how does this work on a real night with the mind racing and sleep not coming? Because let the mind slow down can't just be a pretty phrase. Don't think of this as a technique to force sleep. Think of it as cutting the power to the fan and giving it time to stop on its own. The first part happens before you lie down, and it is the most important. You cannot keep your mind in maximum gear until the second you turn off the light and expect it to stop. So you create a deceleration corridor. In the last 30-40 minutes of the day, you cut the power. Turn off the screens, lower the lights, stop feeding the mind with stimuli, news, problems. You don't go from 100 to 0. You go from 100 to 70 to 40 to 10, giving the mind the ramp it needs to slow down. The second part is what you do when the thoughts come anyway. And they will. You do not fight them. You do not try to grab the blades. When a thought appears, you capture it without drama. You look at it and decide. If it is something real that you need to solve, you write it down on a piece of paper next to the bed, hand it over to tomorrow, and let it go. Because now it has a place and no longer needs to keep spinning in your head to avoid being forgotten. If it is just noise, fear, a useless replay, you recognize it and let it pass, like someone watching someone walk down the street and not getting up to follow them. The piece of paper next to the bed, as simple as it seems, is powerful. A large part of what keeps your mind spinning at night is the fear of forgetting. It keeps repeating the task, the worry, the idea, because it believes that if it stops, you lose it. The instant you write it down, you tell your mind that it can let go. It is saved. It will be dealt with tomorrow. It no longer needs to stand guard. Half of your nighttime agitation is just your head trying not to drop plates that a piece of paper could hold for it. And then comes the deepest part. Instead of filling this space with more thought, you hand it over to God. A short phrase repeated calmly, "My mind rests in you." You are not trying to empty your head by force. You are trading the fight for your thoughts for a presence that calms. The fan slows down not because you stopped it, but because you cut the power and rested while it spun until it stopped. After a while of practicing this, something changes. And it's not that the thoughts disappear. The thoughts keep coming. You don't become a person without a mind, but the relationship with them changes completely. They stop being orders and become merely visitors. You see them arrive, and you are no longer dragged away by every single one. And the night, which used to be a battlefield, becomes a place of rest. You lie down, the mind spins a little from inertia, and instead of fighting, you let it slow down, resting in God in the meantime, and sleep, which used to run from you, returns. During the day, it changes too. That constant background noise goes down. You are able to be in a conversation without 5 competing thoughts. You are able to pray without your mind racing. You are able to have a moment of silence without it being invaded. Your head, which was a noisy and exhausting place to inhabit, begins to become a place where you can rest. And perhaps the greatest relief is this. You discover that you didn't need to defeat your mind in a war. You just needed to stop obeying it and learn to let it slow down in the presence of God. Peace did not come from an empty head. It came from a head that finally stopped bossing you around. Right at the beginning, I told you that your problem is not thinking too much, but not knowing how to let your mind turn off. Now you know the difference. Those symptoms from the beginning, lying down and the mind turning on, replaying conversations, planning what hasn't arrived, solving what nobody asked for, none of them were signs of a broken mind. It was a mind in high gear that you never learned how to slow down, and with which you fought every night grabbing the blades. The exhaustion didn't just come from your problems. It came from the constant war against your own head. The cure was never to stop thinking, nor to defeat the mind by force. It was to cut the power that keeps it spinning, capture the thoughts instead of obeying them, and rest in God while the fan slows down. Your mind can once again be a place of rest, but only when you stop trying to stop it with your hands. Before you go, a real question for you to take into tonight. What is the thought that keeps you awake the most? The one that appears every night, the one you obey every time, the one you chase down the corridors of your mind when your body just wanted to sleep? Stop for a moment and identify it, because you cannot capture an enemy you have never looked in the face. Tonight, when it appears, do things differently. Do not grab the blades, do not fight, do not obey. Capture it, decide if it is real or noise, and if it is noise, say to it, "Not right now," and hand your mind over to God, letting the fan spin until it stops, in peace. Go down to the comments and tell me what this thought is that you are ready to stop obeying. Putting it into words is already the first step to capturing it. I read every single one. And if you know someone who lives with a racing mind, who can't turn off, who loses nights fighting their own head, send this video to them. It might be the first night of rest they have in a long time.